Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tim on the Buzz. I'm with you on talking about everything business, tech, entrepreneurship as usual. Now, today is Thursday. You know what that means. The first star is with Chris Slater Jones, and Chris is basically going to brief us on what insurance is. Breaking down things like how it works, what types of insurance you have, the benefits of it, and anything you need to know in terms of advantages or in terms of your business. If it comes in to your life, you can apply it to your business. You can apply it to your vehicles, your family. When it comes to your salaries, you can basically apply it to anything. And you sometimes don't know how important it is if there is some incident by any chance to your health, or a person you interact with. You might be prone to basically giving out or paying in damages for this. But there's a couple of ways that you can avoid problems like this. You basically just need to be given advice, or you basically just need to be briefed on what insurance is and how you can get it. So we've got Chris joining us now. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Tim.
It's been a week since we've got you as usual, and I'm excited to learn a lot about insurance today as usual, and then talking about the whole topic here. What have we actually got on in the breakdown?
Look, insurance kind of forms the basis of all things, right? Because if what people don't understand is we can insure, as you said, everything from our cars through to the income we earn in case of accidents, sickness, or whatever the future may hold, depending on your policy. And it's important that people understand what insurance is available to them and how they can participate in it, because without it, you could really, really get set back by anything in life. So we'll go through the details. We'll go through what the different types of insurances are, and it should be quite interesting.
Awesome. I'm excited as usual to hear about it, and I'm hoping we finish the show with a lot of information taken out of it. What we're gonna do now is run a couple of videos of who we are, Relax Radio, and what we do. You can call us up on 07852473473. You can also comment on this video. Feel free to ask us anything, ask Chris anything. Make sure you get the best of his time and his experience as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a couple of videos. We're with you till 3 p.m. This is The Buzz, and you are on Relax Radio. That's right. This is Relax Radio. You can feel free to call us up on 07852 473 473. So we've got Chris Slater Jones from CS Jones breaking down what insurance is, why it's important, how you need to educate yourself on it and avoid unnecessary problems in the future. So Chris, if it goes to now the topics like we just spoke about, let's dive into it. Let's just go down.
Let's start. First thing, everything I'm going to say is not advice. In order to participate in the insurance market correctly, you need to go to a regulated advisor. I'm just going to go through the facts of what it is and the different types out there and how they can help you. Yeah. So we just clear that fact up. So we start with insurance policies that most people know, which is kind of the household policies. If anyone's taken a mortgage, the bank insists that you get insurance for the building, in case it falls down, car drives into it, earthquakes, things like that. And that's just to protect the bank's liability against any unforeseen losses. You also get contents insurance, which is insuring the contents of your home, usually against breakage and theft. And there's a lot of policies out there. And then, of course, we have car insurance, which is a legal requirement in the UK now, specifically for third party, but most people buy what's called fully comprehensive, and that just covers you for breakdowns and collisions and various bits and bobs. So those insurances people know, they understand, and most people have them. And then we come to a very fascinating thing where you go on to the next level of insurances, which is the personal insurances, such as life insurance, critical illness insurance, disability insurance, income insurance. And people suddenly go, well, I don't see the need for it. And you think, hang on, but you're insuring your, here's my analogy. If in your house, I'd put a machine in the corner of your lounge, right? And it spat out, as an argument, let's say you earned £5,000 a month as a person going to your job every month. So now this machine spits out £5,000 every month, right? Would you insure that machine against theft? Everyone says yes, right? Because it's giving you money. Yet, people don't insure themselves. You're the machine in this analogy. You are the machine that goes out every month, earns that salary, comes home, and with that salary, you pay all your bits and bobs. So that's income insurance. It's one of my
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. So why wouldn't you, as an employer or an employee, insure your income? And yes, people think it's complicated or people don't think they need it, but come on, guys, it's quite easy, right? You can insure up to 75% of your income because the insurance is paid out after tax. So we've got to make sure that you're not unduly benefiting from being sick and not working. So we've got to make sure that the insurance level is right. You also make sure you do it on own occupation, which is basically just a fancy way of saying if you cannot do the current job that you are doing in the capacity you need to do it, you'll get paid.
Right.
And I mean, why wouldn't you do it, right? Because there's a lot of people that get sick and then they can't work and then everything else falls over because there's no income coming in. So income insurance, very, very, very important. It's probably the first insurance most people should get, and you should get this from the first day you start working for someone, right? Entrepreneurs are a bit different, and if you own your own company and if you're self-employed, it's a bit different, but we can still make provisions for that. Yeah. Okay. Next insurance, which people do kind of have a bit of an issue around because it is quite expensive, is the critical illness insurance. Now, critical illness insurance insures you against, as it says on the tin, critical illness, mainly stroke, cancer, these kind of major illnesses, and each policy has different definitions and different illnesses, although they're all pretty close together, but you do need advice on these types of policies. The reason they're so expensive is because there is a pretty high chance of people getting one of these illnesses throughout their lifetime. So some people say, well, I can't afford it, which is fine. Other people who can afford it and don't take it are taking a real risk because it pays out a lump sum. So just to go back to income protection insurance, it pays out a monthly sum. So that'll it's used to replace your income. Critical
So
illness.
maybe I'm thinking now, since we already spoke about investments, coming into the discipline of allocating or funding or budgeting your income, your cash flow, we'll need to start considering. I mean, now that you pointed it out, now that you put it in that way, you're basically a machine and you're bringing in money to your household, on a monthly or weekly basis. And to ensure that, you basically should start allocating a sum out of your cash flow for that as well.
It's an investment in yourself, because if you
Yeah.
can't earn the income, you can't fund any of your other investments or future plans, right? So it definitely needs to be put in there. Critical illness, not so much in the early years, but it gets more expensive as it goes on, and that pays a lump sum out to you to fund your critical illness, i.e., you may need changes to the house, or you can't work for a while, and various bits and pieces. The next big insurance, which most people have, especially if you have a mortgage, because a mortgage lender, bank, will also insist on life cover, life insurance. So, should you die, this pays out a lump sum. And if you have a mortgage, or you've gotten a mortgage, you have a life amount that covers the outstanding mortgage should you die, or if you have a spouse, it's joint. Everyone should have this cover, whether or not you have a mortgage. It enables a couple of things. It's fairly cost effective. It's not that expensive, unless you kind of go for whole of life options. But generally, people do it till they retire. Why would you do it till your retirement date? Because from your retirement date onwards, and we'll get into this when we speak about pensions, the pensions pay out, their sums on your death. So it may be a like for like. And then when you die, the sum gets paid out. It gets paid out of your estate, so it doesn't get held up with all the other bits in your estate. It doesn't attract any estate duties, and it enables family members, especially if you leave children, some capital there so that they can go on with their life as well. And, the cost is fairly low compared to the other covers. I mean, you see adverts for £10 a month for 100 grand and things like that, but they are dependent, as most insurance is, where we're talking on the life, critical illness, and income protection, on your health, on your age, on your income, on your education. Why do they look at those? Because those determine risk factors to the insurance company on the event happening. If you have a higher education, you're fit, you're younger, your insurance is going to be cheaper than if you have a less education, you're unfit and you're older. Kind of makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
I think initially people, I mean, me as well, right? I mean, me included at least. Um, Initially, I'd look at it as a form of an unnecessary cost, because at the end of the year, if you spend whichever portion of your salary, for 12 months, and you don't come to the point where you have to use it, how would you convince me apart from that perspective?
This is the thing, it shouldn't be about convincing people. You want to buy insurance for the sole purpose that you never ever use it, because it's just there in case something happens. So it gives you that peace of mind. No one knows what the future is going to hold. So if you're planning for the future and you're saying, okay, I'm going to put this much away for my pension, I'm going to put this much away in savings, I want to buy a house in the future, I want to, let's say you're really young, you want to get married, I want to have children, I want to have all of this, and you don't have something like income protection while you have your job, and for whatever reason, be it accident, economic, uh, geological, no one knows, but you lose your job.
Correct.
You don't have the insurance, and it takes you 6 months, maybe a year to lose your job, because suddenly it's not 2017 anymore, it's 2022, and there's a pandemic. You can't get the same job, you don't get the same pay, you have to work lower, harder, longer, And basically, you've set yourself back quite a few number of years. So
Right.
it's quite interesting that people choose to take this risk. Yet they'll insure their contents and they'll insure their car. So they'll pay that cost,
Yeah. Yeah.
hoping they'll never use it, but they won't insure themselves.
Like now, if it comes to now we primarily spoke about life so far, and I was actually I was doing a bit of a research session before this conversation on to how we need to consider the importance of insurance as well. Now, if it comes to work as well, there can be there can be positions where an office is put into, given that the staff go out of office, and for work purposes. Let's say if you're a sales agent, if you are going out meeting clients, for example, if you are even if you are a contractor, if you are a gym instructor, things like that, you could basically, I mean, god forbid, but you could come to a point where you you meet with a slight accident, right? So to avoid these things, it's important that company, the employer, should go into securing the staff with their insurance, with their safety insurance as well.
Look, you have group policies, right? And group policies in the main generally include some kind of life insurance for their employees, and that's based on a multiple of salary. So the insurance company will say, okay, you're a company that does X, Y, and Z. We can give you, without medical underwriting, this level of insurance, whether it be two, three, four, up to 10 times the annual salary of your employees. And you can break that down as well. So, and you work that out, whatever your annual salary is, you times it by the multiplier, and that's what your estate or beneficiaries, because you make that known, will receive on your death. There are other types of insurances as well. So a company may offer disability insurance. You find some manufacturing industries and various other kind of more blue collar side things where, should there be a disability, i.e., you're working and you lose a limb, or you have a bad accident, or you break your back, or something like that, and you can't do your job, then there may be insurance to cover that as well. In my industry, because I'm in finance, I have professional indemnity insurance, and that's done on a group basis because I belong to quite a large company, and that's done on a group basis here as well. So there's different types of insurances for different environments and different work. But yes, absolutely right. It's not the employer's obligation to provide it, but by providing it, they give their employees peace of mind. They give their employees an extra benefit. They give their employees something that they can say, you know what, this helps. Very often, it's not enough though. So very
Sure.
often I talk to people and they've got good group policies. It's wonderful. But when we work it out and say, okay, unfortunately, what we've got to do is we just do an exercise. If you died, what would happen? If you had an accident, what would happen? If you lost your job, what would happen? And what insurances could we put in place to mitigate the downsides of these things? Because what people often find is when we work out their total liabilities in a personal context, such as mortgages, credit cards, and various other bits and pieces, the group policy doesn't necessarily cover all that, especially if they haven't had separate life cover written for their mortgage. So we may have to top that up. Also, group policies very rarely offer income protection. You may have what's called sick pay or sickness pay, but that's for a shorter term than the actual income protection policy. So what we would do is we'd say, okay, we take your company's sick pay and then we defer the income protection policy to only kick in once that company's sick pay has finished paying. What that does is it really lowers the cost of the income protection policy for people because the insurance company looks at it and says, okay, what is the chance of us having to pay someone once they've already been sick for 6 months, the recovery rate is higher rather than 2 weeks, as an example. So we can lower the cost. So we look at lowering the cost for the same policy, and they only start in 6 months, should they need to. Of course, if they don't, it's a good thing, right? Which is fine.
So now,
sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So if we look at, now we were talking about companies, and then, like you said, if it comes to the income for a family, for example, I think we should go into, physical assets as well, maybe during the second half of the show as well. So if we talk about physical assets also, what would you recommend? How would you recommend, if someone is doing something simple like buying a car, or obviously a car or house might be the most significant investments people make in terms of purchases for themselves, or if it's their companies. Who and where have you seen follow the most effective approaches to investments?
You're breaking up quite a bit there, Tim. Sorry, your internet's gone. I think what you're trying to say is, the insurance for companies protecting themselves against loss and theft.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if it comes to things like, if it comes to things like, simple things like if if a person is trying to buy a house or a car, this is, the most commonly, can you hear me? We'll get into some videos before we get back, and
climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
You're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that would improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, it's how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What do you like? What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It'll make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when you, if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you will interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there. You're quite right.
I mean, I've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And yeah, on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much. A lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure. And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're writing? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts mainly one because they're nice and bright. So they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.